Hello and welcome back. We have been discussing about the features of early Greek philosophy. We have discussed about the common features. We have also studied a little bit about our father of philosophy, Thales, in our previous class. Today we will be discussing about yet another intriguing Greek philosophy character, and he is Anaximander. This is Dr. Ananya Barua, Associate Professor in the Department of Philosophy, Hindu College. Now, Anaximander is second in line after Thales, and his time zone is sometime around 610 to 546 BCE. He is a pre-Socratic Greek philosopher from Miletus in Ionia, which is the modern-day Turkey. He is considered one of the earliest scientific thinkers and a pioneering figure in Western metaphysics, cosmology, and natural philosophy. He is often viewed as a successor and a likely student of Thales, though some scholars see him more as an intellectual heir than a formal disciple. Now, who is Anaximander? Anaximander was a polymath concerned with cosmology, geography, biology, and even astronomy. He is credited with drawing the first map of the known world and proposing early theories of evolution and the shape of the earth. While Thales is famous for claiming that the fundamental substance arche for everything is water, Anaximander went a step further, arguing that the origin of all things could not be any known element. So if we look at this PPT here, we see that the feature of the arche, first principle of Thales, has been water. For Anaximander, it is Apeiron, which is the infinite, the boundless. About the philosophical move, we see that Thales chose a tangible, observable substance. Anaximander, on the other hand, introduced an abstract, indeterminate source. The view of cosmos for Thales is that universe floats on water. Anaximander, on the other hand, said that the earth floats freely, suspended in space. We also, when you talk about cosmic justice, we see that Thales didn't talk much about it. Anaximander, on the other hand, introduced the idea of cosmic balance and injustice of elements. About innovation, Thales is the first to seek a rational explanation. Anaximander, on the other hand, is the first to use non-material abstraction as a philosophical principle. Now, having said these, we find that, the question is, was Anaximander a student of Thales then? Yes, according to ancient sources like Diogenes Laertius and Aristotle. Now, who is Diogenes Laertius? Diogenes Laertius is a central commentator of Greek philosophy, and most of our knowledge about Greek philosophy is documented from his writings. Anaximander is traditionally considered a student or follower of Thales. However, it is important to understand the term student in the early Greek context. There were no formal schools or academics yet, unlike Plato's Academy that comes much later, or Aristotle's Lyceum, again, that comes way later. Student here meant more of an intellectual successor, someone influenced by or reacting to the ideas of an elder thinker. So while Thales sparked the question, Anaximander deepened and abstracted the inquiry, moving from material explanations to metaphysical speculation. Now we will be discussing about the philosophical insights from Anaximander's work. The first is about abstraction and rationalism. Anaximander refused to limit the origin of being to anything perceptible, such as water. Instead, he proposed that Apeiron, the indefinite or infinite or boundless, showing a major leap towards abstract metaphysical thinking. Birth of metaphysics. Anaximander's use of an undefined, unbounded principle as the basis of reality paved the way for metaphysics, the study of what lies beyond the physical. Third, dynamic balance and justice. Anaximander introduced a proto-ethical idea of cosmic justice. To quote, "Things perish into that from which they come to be, according to necessity. For they suffer penalty and reparation to one another for their injustice." Unquote. This suggests a law-like moral structure governing the cosmos where conflict among elements leads to cycles of renewal. Fourth, precursor to scientific method. Anaximander did not rely on myth or divine anthropomorphism. He offered naturalistic explanations of the universe's origin, structure, and change, laying groundwork for the scientific worldview. Fifth, courage of speculation. Choosing the Apeiron meant admitting that the true origin may be beyond human comprehension, a bold philosophical move showing epistemological humility and ontological imagination. So we see that Anaximander is a foundational figure in Western thought, a bridge between myth and reason. He extended Thales' legacy by questioning the very assumptions of material origin and offering a formless, infinite ground of being. His concept of the Apeiron is among the earliest metaphysical insights in recorded history and continues to resonate in modern philosophy, cosmology, and even theoretical physics. Now, if we look at the PPT here, we see that there are certain research gaps identified by Anaximander. And what are those existing thought or gap? Elemental reductionism, that is water as RK. So Anaximander's response has been that he rejected any specific element as a universal source, pointing out that no single observable substance can explain the diversity of nature. The existing thought or the gap about mythological explanation of cosmos, Anaximander responds by stating that he replaced myth with a natural, rational, and abstract principle, the Apeiron. Now, when we also talk about other things like lack of cosmic ethics order, we see that Anaximander had introduced the idea of cosmic justice, a moral structure to physical processes. About no mechanism for change as the research gap, Anaximander's response by stating that he had proposed a cyclical process of generation and decay, regulated by necessity and balance. So basically then we come to the second part about what is the methodology used by Anaximander. While pre-Socratic thinkers lacked formal scientific method, Anaximander employed an early, rational and empirical approach, combining observation, analogy and abstraction. So here, as we can see in the PPT displayed, step of empirical observation, he described it as he studied the celestial bodies, weather patterns, fossils, geography, suggesting a proto-scientific curiosity. About analogical reasoning, Anaximander used comparisons and metaphors to describe abstract ideas. Example, the earth floating unsupported like a column. About abstraction, Anaximander shifted from concrete elements to the abstract Apeiron as the principle of origin. About systematic explanation, his model explained cosmic phenomena as lawful, not random or divine. Cosmic balance, and he introduced a regulatory mechanism where injustice and reparation are a part of natural law. So we see that the methodology used by Anaximander has been a mix of empirical observation, analogical reasoning, abstraction, systematic explanation, and cosmic balance. Now, when we go ahead, our third insight is what could be the possible research objectives of Anaximander's philosophy. The objective here is to identify the first principle, RK, of all things, and the explanation he gave was to move beyond tangible elements to discover a universal generative source. The other objective is to replace myth with natural reason. The explanation is to explain the cosmos using logical and impersonal causes. The objective also was to propose a unified cosmology, and one that connects the origin, structure, and process of the universe in a single framework. Further, the objective was to explore the ethical dimension of nature, and the explanation that he gave was to establish the nature that operates by necessity and justice, not caprice. Further, the objective was also to model a cyclical universe, and the explanation is he introduced the idea of eternal return and balance, where all things arise and dissolve from the Apeiron. Now, our further question thus is, what then are the possible outcomes or expected outcomes from Anaximander's philosophy? Anaximander's work that we have browsed through so far, though largely fragmentary, led to key philosophical and scientific outcomes. Philosophical outcomes such as introduction of metaphysical thinking, which is non-material first principles started. Conceptual framework for cosmic justice and balance. Opening the door to abstraction in both science and philosophy. Then the question is, what are the proto-scientific outcomes? They are the first map of the world, geography, early astronomical models such as celestial rings, Earth suspended, speculation on evolution. Humans may have evolved from aquatic life due to their long dependency on maternal care. Now, the reflection about Anaximander as a proto-researcher is interesting. In modern times, Anaximander can be seen as an early systems thinker and conceptual theorist whose work bridged mythic imagination and rational inquiry. He pioneered foundational cosmology, abstract ontology, early ethical naturalism. His recognition of conceptual and explanatory gaps and his efforts to address them with reason represent a pivotal moment in the birth of philosophy as a structured inquiry. So now we come to the basic question: who is Anaximander? Anaximander thus is a pre-Socratic Greek philosopher from Miletus, best known for introducing the concept of the Apeiron, and one of the earliest philosophical attempts to explain the origin and structure of the cosmos without relying on myth. What is this Apeiron then? Why are we discussing Apeiron? The Greek word Apeiron comes from a, which is without, and peiros, which is limit or boundary, meaning the unlimited or the boundless or the indefinite. So basically Apeiron, if we connect it with the Sanskrit term ahimsa, himsa is violence, ahimsa is non-violence. Similarly, perion or peiros is boundary, apeiron is boundaryless or limitless or boundless. Anaximander posited that the Apeiron is the origin, arche, of all things, a primordial, eternal and indeterminate reality from which the world and all opposites, hot, cold, wet, dry, emerge. Now, if we discuss about the key features of the Apeiron, we find that it is indefinite or infinite. The explanation is that it has no fixed form, quality or quantity. It is formless and limitless. It is eternal and divine. It has no beginning or end. It governs the cosmos with justice. The other feature of Apeiron is it is generative principle. That is, from it all elements and worlds emerge and return in a cosmic cycle. Further, the feature about Apeiron is that it is beyond the elements, which means that unlike Thales' water or Heraclitus' fire, Anaximander chose no known element. His feature of Apeiron is also that it is abstract and philosophical. It is not material in the usual sense, it is metaphysical or transcendental abstraction. Now, we have to understand why is Apeiron important in philosophy. It is important because it is the first metaphysical abstraction. Anaximander was perhaps the first thinker to reject a tangible element like water, fire, as the origin of being. Instead, he introduced an abstract principle, an early move towards metaphysics. Secondly, it is the dynamic source of opposites. Anaximander believed cosmic order arises from tensions between opposites, and the Apeiron contains and regulates these oppositions. He said, quote, "From where things have their origin, to there they return, in accordance with necessity. For they suffer punishment and make reparation to each other for their injustice, according to the ordering of time." Unquote. This suggests a moral cosmic balance even before ethics and physics were separated. Influence on later philosophy. His ideas anticipated Plato's and Aristotle's notion of the unmoved mover or first cause. It prefigured modern philosophical ideas of the void or the infinite of Kant and Hegel, the unconditioned of Heidegger's being or the Tao in Chinese thought, quantum indeterminacy in modern physics. So then, when we compare Apeiron with other pre-Socratic views, we see that for thinker like Thales, arche has been water, Anaximander has been Apeiron, Anaximenes' air, Heraclitus' fire. And air again is tangible but more refined, Heraclitus' fire or logos, elemental with rational order. Now, we are interested in knowing what then is the modern echo of the Apeiron. In cosmology, concepts like the primordial singularity or the quantum vacuum resonate with the idea of an undefined generative source. Metaphysics, the Apeiron is like the ground of being, an origin that is not a thing but the condition of possibility for all things. Postmodern thought, thinkers like Deleuze or Heidegger reflect on the groundedness of being, echoing Anaximander's intuition. So Anaximander's Apeiron is a pioneering idea, a bold metaphysical move beyond the visible, tangible world into the domain of the abstract, infinite and ontological. By positing an indeterminate, boundless source of all things, he planted the seeds for future metaphysical inquiry and set philosophy on a path towards abstract reasoning. Now, we are also interested in knowing how Anaximander and the concept of Apeiron came up. So, there's this article where it explores Anaximander's concept of the Apeiron, the indefinite or boundless, as a foundational principle in early Greek philosophy. It examines the metaphysical and cosmological implications of the Apeiron, contrasting it with other pre-Socratic notions of arche, and considers its enduring philosophical significance, including echoes in modern metaphysics and physics. So we do see that Anaximander has had been a very interesting figure, and he will be remembered for introducing this extremely unique concept called the Apeiron. We also will be checking out the definition of Apeiron, the metaphysical abstraction, the dynamic source of the opposites, ethical and cosmological order, and so on and so forth in our next class. Thank you so much.